What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA show. And again, just to remind you guys, if you're joining for the first time or if you're kind of coming back, we are doing this every Monday and Friday. 1:20 is the tentative start time. That's what we're aiming for. Sometimes it's 1:30, but you can count on us to be here every Monday and Friday. And we got a lot of stuff going on in the world of MMA and the world of UFC in particular. So many things. Huge UFC, massive UFC event next weekend, which I'm insanely excited about. But I think we're going to wait to talk about that until next week. In the meantime, so first, Justin, I want to check in with you. Do you have any updates for us on anything in your fight world, related to your fight journey?
Dude, a lot of good stuff is going on right now. As I talked to you a little bit earlier, I think on Monday, I have my hearing this Saturday, and we're going to talk about my last fight with Chris Padilla. I'm getting a lot of positive reinforcement back, some higher ups. Herb Dean thinks I have a case. John McCarthy thinks I have a case. The head of CSAC thinks I have a case. But ultimately, it's going to come down, from my understanding, to it's going to be Ronda Rousey's mom is going to make the decision, the ultimate decision, from what I've been told. So I'm really excited about that. They're going to Skype me in. We're going to review it. They're going to hear my case. They're going to hear both. I don't know if Padilla is going to be there or be a part of it. But again, I'm not looking for an unfair ruling of, I should win that fight. All I'm looking for is a no contest and run it back. A super tough kid. Has a bright future ahead of him. But you can't get wins that way. You know what I mean? I know it looks great on paper, TKO to UFC vet, but it was a terrible stoppage. And I talked to Jesse on Fire a little bit before our show, and we were talking about the stoppage of Bobby Green and comparative to my stoppages. I would rather been unconscious, dead, eating shots, getting my head caved in, compared to how Chris Lieben stopped that fight. So moving forward, right now I'm in Boise, Idaho. I'm here for the Front Street fights. One of my up-and-coming girls, 19-year-old Chloe Becker, she fights tonight, actually, in a couple hours. She's getting her hair done right now. Super tough amateur. She's 1-1 right now. I was able to catch her first fight, and she she's a banger. Chloe Chaos Becker. She's going to be coming in with a bang, and now she's at Extreme Couture with me, training full time. So I'm really excited to see what's in store for her future. And then my next fight right now, I just got a call from my manager 2 days ago, February 10th. We're looking to run it back with PFL vet Carson. Not run it back, but run it. We were supposed to fight in November. I got medically suspended from CSAC. So we're looking to fight February 10th right now in Salt Lake City, Utah. So a lot of things on the horizon for me, and I'm really excited to be a part of it all.
Amazing. Hey, I want to ask you a question about Extreme Couture, because there's all this talk about Ian Garry getting kicked out of gyms. We're going to talk about him and Sean Strickland later on in the show, which will be funny. But I just like gym culture, right? You're a fighter there. You're part of a team. You're meant to participate. You're meant to clean the mats. You're meant to coach classes, I assume, right? There's a camaraderie there. You're meant to respect everybody in the gym. Like, when you hear these stories about Ian Garry bringing in camera crews, kind of like not really pitching in, if that happened at Extreme Couture, like what is the would somebody last there at all, or would they be immediately outed, or what is it for you guys?
There's a lot of, we got a lot of big time fighters. We have the UFC champ, Sean Strickland. We had Francis Ngannou. We had Aljamain Sterling. Those are 3 UFC champs right off the top of my head. Randy Couture. So, the gym is always has camera people in it. They're always coming in. Schmo loves to come in and do interviews. His fiance Helen, Helen Yee comes in. It's nonstop. So, as long as it's not taking away from your teammates' training and stuff, it's usually pretty chill for the most part. I can't see Ian Garry coming to our gym just because of the whole Sean Strickland. Sean's really taking that leadership role at Extreme Couture. Regardless of how people feel about him on camera when he's in his car, Sean is a leader, man. And the thing I love about Sean is he's so vocal about being a leader, but he puts in the work. That guy's in the gym more than anybody. I work at the gym full time, and he's in the gym more than I am. And he's not there just walking around. The guy's training nonstop. There's a reason he's the UFC champion. Love him or hate him, the guy outworks everybody. And he's really become a leader at Extreme Couture.
I heard some crazy thing. I can't remember which podcast it was. I think it might have been Joe Rogan saying that there's some device in the mouthpieces that is from the UFC where you can measure how many times you get hit in the face, something like this. Correct me if I'm wrong, or if you heard of this. And apparently Sean spars more than anybody, but he gets hit less than everybody, despite like the greatest hours of sparring. Have you heard that, or is that something that you guys have talked about?
Actually, this is the first I've heard of it. And
Okay.
when you see, here's the thing: when you're sparring Sean Strickland, is I think there's some hesitancy going on because Sean is willing to die in training every single day. And with that being said, you take someone. I saw him. Who was he sparring the other day? I was able to watch it. It was Dominic Reyes.
Oh,
And yeah, and so I'm watching these guys spar, but they have mutual respect for each other, so they're not teeing off on each other. Now that's the
yeah.
thing. Dominic goes in there and tags Sean with a good shot. Sean's going to pay him back tenfold. So I think
Mm,
the reason he's not getting hit as much, and he didn't get hit much in his last fight either, and I
barely at
think
all.
there's that, yeah, barely hit at all, and,
Yeah.
and and you look at his style, and it's nothing that's mind blowing. I watch him. It's like, man, what? Because I love his style. I love his forward pressure. Yeah, he has that Floyd Mayweather stance with one hand
Mhm.
down. He tucks his shoulder here. And it's like,
Yep.
man, in MMA, he should be getting teed off on. But for whatever reason, he's not, and it's working for him. And, I've really tried to implement that stance and that style. And for whatever reason, maybe just because of my range, it just doesn't work out for me. But to watch him do it and implement it and get hit as less as he does, it's pretty incredible.
People have said that, or I've heard people talk about it at least, that he's the best defensive striker of all time, or one of the best defensive strikers of all time, depending, I guess, on who you ask. But maybe that is because of the hours and the time and the muscle memory and all the reflexes he's developed from all the sparring. So, anyways, all right, man, I'm so fascinated by Sean Strickland and so happy for his entire rise to fame. We can't wait for his next fight. But let's kick it off with somebody crazy that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about this new prospect in the heavyweight division. I believe it's Robelis. I was trying to listen to the pronunciation in the videos. I believe it's Robelis Despaigne. He's Cuban. And here, I'm going to pull up a picture of him so you guys can see this guy. Hold on one second. This guy is crazy, dude. Like, so he is 6'7". I believe he's 267 pounds. Hold on one second. And what's amazing about him, I think, is he's got a taekwondo background. So the reason why I find that fascinating, I think a lot of people will find it interesting, is because here, I'm gonna just pull this up here on the side. The reason why is because I think a lot of people like me started training in taekwondo. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's sort of fascinating. And he's just, hold on, let me share this here so we can kind of see. This is him, Robelis Despaigne. I mean, he is a beast. He's huge. And what's crazy about him, and the fact that he has a taekwondo background, he's throwing head kicks like a madman in his fights. I think he's, what is he, 4-0, 5-0? Granted, it's in smaller shows, and he's knocked everybody out in the first round. What is he? He's 35. He's knocked everybody out in the first round, and there was one fight that went a little bit longer, and that was because he was clinched up pretty aggressively. So maybe he has some clinch work to work on, grappling, so on and so forth. But like, just hearing all this, and the reason why I want to ask you about it is because people, obviously, who are they making a comparison to? Francis Ngannou, right? That striking, that KO power. You see some of his highlights are insane. First of all, and I know you watched a lot of that footage today. What are your thoughts on this guy?
I mean, the guy is a big, strong athlete, and that's about all I can say about him right now. I know people are getting really hype, and they're talking, "Oh, he's the next Francis Ngannou." Listen, there's only one Francis Ngannou, and I tell you what, he has worked his ass off to earn that spot as Francis Ngannou, if that makes sense. This guy's 4-0 on his smaller shows. Yes, he can be a super athlete. I mean, you take a super athlete like Greg Hardy. We're talking about the NFL Pro Bowler, defensive end for the Cowboys. He transitioned to MMA. Everyone had this whole, oh, he's so powerful, he's so fast, he's athletic, he's
Mm-hmm.
explosive. And not only did he have a fallout in the UFC, he had a fallout in BKFC too. I'm not saying, and this guy's a little older too. He's 35 years old. He's
35.
starting the sport late. I think this is the way the UFC is like, all right, we're going to try and get us a Francis Ngannou back, and hopefully this is the guy. I'm not sold. I'm not buying his Kool-Aid yet, man. He's only 4-0. He's only 5-0. He hasn't fought anybody that's anybody. The UFC, and here's the other thing. How is the UFC going to brand this guy as a 35-year-old? So they're going to, I believe he is signed to the UFC, no?
Yes, he got signed. He got
So he got
signed.
signed to
Look at
the
this
UFC. He's
right
35.
here.
I don't think I don't think that they can baby him. They can't build him because he's 35 years old. They have to
Yeah,
throw him right into the fire at 4-0. I think that's the best way. And I really
yeah.
think like a really good test for this guy, especially given his pedigree, is Cyril Gane, because Cyril's going to stand with him and he's going to bang. And then we'll see if this guy's legit. If he comes out and he knocks out Cyril Gane, like, all right, now we have a contender. But until then, I'm not sold. I'm not buying this guy's Kool-Aid. I understand that again, the UFC is trying to get the next Francis Ngannou, but he's old, man. He's 35 years old. He hasn't fought anybody. They're going to throw him in the briar patch. They have to, because sooner than later, you know, he's only going to fight once or twice a year. So, I mean, okay, so now he's going to be 37, 38, you know, 2-0 or 3-0 in the UFC, hopefully, if everything works out, and hopefully put up title contention. I think it's a desperate attempt to get this guy or to get this guy into that star level, because right now, you know, like we talked about Tsarukyan, like, it's a new face, it's a fresh face, and hopefully the UFC can build something with it. I know they want to build something with it. They need an all-star heavyweight, especially with John Jones being hurt right now. Maybe this guy can do it, but until he proves himself on the elite level of beating somebody like Cyril Gane, I'm not sold.
Fair enough. Bronze medalist, by the way, in the Olympics. Head kicks like crazy. Or another possible matchup just to test him, like a Curtis Blades or somebody like that, would be interesting. See how he can stand up. The last thing I want to say about him, which I think is so cool, is that if you see some of his fights, the way he fights, how he keeps his hands low, crazy. I mean, that just is terrifying to me. I've never seen that. Like, he holds him down low when he's like coming up, and then he throws some crazy strikes. So I don't know.
It's a traditional Taekwondo stance, and you know, Lyoto Machida had something similar to it. And you know, you look at these traditional Taekwondo or these traditional mixed martial artists, not mixed martial arts as in Taekwondo, like the formal arts. There's only been a couple guys that can really do it. And, you know, fortunate for him that the heavyweight is, I think, the weakest division in the UFC, just because guys aren't that big. You know, 155, 170, 145, I think those are the stacked divisions. I do think he will be able to come on and beat some guys. But, man, eventually he's going to get caught with his hands down. And, you know, it's going to be, I mean, dude, when he gets to the UFC, man, these guys, everybody has cement blocks in their hands. And if he gets caught slipping and he catches his hands down, he could get knocked out real quick.
All right. Well, anyways, let's see what happens. We're so excited. And by the way, for those of you guys who are on the stream right now, thank you so much for joining. And if you could click that subscribe button and could give us a like, we'd really appreciate it. We're trying to really grow the channel. This is it. We're on a roll. We got our consistency in, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So if you could do that, we'd really appreciate it. By the way, Louisa, the food just got here. Would you mind grabbing it from whenever you have a chance? No rush. Okay. Anyways, I gotta eat now while we do the show. Sorry, because I gotta immediately bounce after this. All right, moving on to something amazing. We're gonna talk about Aljo's next fight. He moved up to 145, and what's so cool is he's training with you at Extreme Couture, and you guys have been chatting, I guess, today. We haven't really talked about too much, really anything about what he said. So I can't wait to hear what you got to say. Last thing I want to say on this is he recently I listened to his podcast yesterday. Love his podcast, by the way. And he talked about how the Max Holloway fight probably isn't happening. I think that's what he was angling for, but it sounds like it's not going to happen. Max Holloway's got other options apparently. So yeah, what's next for Aljo at 145?
You know, I don't know, to be honest. And, you know, there's a lot of, like, we didn't really talk about what's next for him. You know, Aljo is somebody that I really look up to, somebody that I really enjoy having as a teammate. You know, I had neck surgery last year. You know, Aljo had the same surgery the year prior to me. So, you know, going into my surgery, preparing for my surgery, he was somebody that I looked to for comfort on, you know, look, he's fighting at the top of the world. We're having the same neck surgery 1 year to the date within 1 week, he wins the UFC championship after having the exact same neck surgery I had. So, you know, preparing for my surgery, he was always somebody that I looked to for comfort. And, you know, I just saw him on Wednesday at the gym. You know, I was able to talk to him for about 5 minutes. You know, I don't like the Max Holloway matchup for him. I think Max's takedown defense is really good, and his striking is going to be a little much for Aljo, especially just throw him in the briar patch. Max Holloway is one of the best to ever do it at 145. You know, I'm thinking Brian Ortega. You know, I think Brian Ortega is a really great matchup. We're talking about two high-level grapplers. Aljo's grappling is just incredible. His striking is unorthodox. So, you know, and so is Ortega. So I think it's a very and they're both coming off losses. I think it's a great fight to throw him into. You know, Ortega has fought for the belt. He hasn't been a champion yet, but, you know, it's a great test for Aljo going up, you know, getting a guy that, you know, got fucked up by Holloway, you know, so I would really like to see the Ortega match. I think it'd be an incredible grappling experience for all the fans in the UFC.
I haven't even heard that thrown around, but I love that idea. I'd love to see that fight. A couple other thoughts, or actually just a couple of questions. How do you think he matches up against both Volkanovski. I want to talk about Volk, by the way. But how do you think he matches up against either Volkanovski or Topuria?
Man, I don't know. It just really, it's going to be tough because we're talking about going up a whole weight class. We're talking about 10, 11 pounds being added on, 10 pounds being added on, 136 to 146. Like, these guys are big. And although Aljo was an incredible, huge 35er, I mean, he's not much bigger than me. And when I look at some of these guys, when I stood next to Max Holloway, his reach, his range, Volkanovski's a little shorter, but dude, the guy is a fire hydrant. His legs are freaking huge. That's why I don't want to throw him right into the briar patch and have him fight for the championship or have him fight a top 2, top 3 guy. I want to see how he fares against like a Brian Ortega, like a top 8 guy. Because again, if he can't compete with Brian Ortega, he's not going to be able to compete with Holloway and Volkanovski.
That's a great call. One thing you said on his podcast that I listened to yesterday or 2 days ago, he had a DEXA scan or something done to him.
Yeah, you can get it done whenever you want. Absolutely.
And he said that his body weight, when you just look at the muscle and the bone and like, if you exclude the fat, something crazy like that alone was like 145 or something crazy, like 150 pounds. So already like way above the limit. So he was talking about how he's literally having to like not damage, but like destroy his muscle to make weight at 135. I was like, that's so he was basically like, I'm never going back to 135 again after learning that. And so wild. But you're right, that's an amazing idea. I haven't heard that talked about, Brian Ortega, but I love that idea.
By the way, I just came up with that right now, just to let you know. That's not something I heard about.
That's dope. That's dope. And Brian Ortega's been gone for a while, so I think that'd be an amazing fight a former champ. Incredible for both. Just since we're talking about Volkanovski and Ilya, just really quickly, like, what are your thoughts on that matchup? Do you lean a particular way? I'm going to add that in as a thing here.
Yeah, go ahead, dude. Topuria is freaking tough, man, and he keeps showing it over and over again. And Volkanovski coming off a nasty high kick knockout for that left leg coming up from Islam. I mean, I know it was a short notice fight. I know we talked about it, and I didn't think it was going to end like that. I don't think anybody thought it was going to end like that. Now Topuria brings that level of striking. That's a really tough matchup, dude. I mean, Volkanovski's given everybody fits, everybody in the weight division. He gave Islam a fit the first time they fought. I mean, it's hard to root against him. I'm definitely not going to root against Volk. I want him to win. Like, he's a guy that I really look up to in the sport, that, he is live by the sword, die by the sword type of guy. Short notice fighting arguably the best pound for pound fighter in the world. This guy's insane. I really would hope and want Volkanovski to win, but Topuria is hot, man. He has momentum coming in, and I know he wants the matchup. I don't know if it's confirmed yet if they are fighting or when.
No, it's
fighting,
confirmed.
It's confirmed. Okay, so
they're fighting in Anaheim. They're fighting in Anaheim.
Oh, you're gonna get some tickets? You're gonna go over to that?
I don't know. That's what we need to talk about that, because I was thinking about it, and I wanted to see if Jesse wanted to go potentially too, because I'm definitely open to the idea. It's right in my backyard.
What's the date?
I'd love to see that. It is in let me double check. UFC 298, I believe. February 17th.
Okay, that'd be the week after my fight, dude. Let me reach out to some of my connects and see if we can get some tickets.
Yes, that'd be amazing. Okay. Anyway, so I'll tell you my thoughts, and my thoughts are, it's actually kind of informed from a lot of conversations we have, and the things I've learned from asking you and probing you about, like, hey, how important is mindset? What happens after a loss? And I'm kind of feeling like, I don't know, I'm leaning towards Topuria now. Again, just because of that crazy flash knockout, not taking a ton of time off. He's kind of jumping right back in. I just heard his interview on the MMA Hour. He sounds amazing. He sounds like he's in a really good headspace. But just, I don't know. Again, like, I'm always trying to think about it psychologically and from that perspective. And so I feel like that might carry over and have an effect. We'll see. But anyways, can't wait for that. And yes, let me know. Let's see if we can make that happen. All right, let's move on to your teammate, UFC legend, UFC champ, Sean Strickland versus Ian Garry. So there was like some funny kind of drama stuff that's been going on. And I guess they saw each other, and Ian Garry like mean mugged him. And then Sean kind of gave like a really hilarious response. But anyways, I want to ask you your perspective. You train with Sean, you see him every day. Has he said anything to you about this, or have you heard? Do you have a thought on this whole Sean Strickland Ian Garry thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And he hasn't talked to me personally about it. Me and Sean aren't like buddy buddy. We don't talk about personal things, but our
Okay.
lockers are next to each other, and I do catch wind of a lot of his conversation with people. And yeah, we do talk a little bit. But one of the videos that really stuck out to me, him in his car again,
Hmm.
and Sean, was as respectful as I've ever heard him.
Hmm.
He told Ian Garry, he said, "Hey, look, I don't want to fight you, but you know where to find me if you do."
Hmm.
And I think that's Sean saying like, hey, look, dude, this isn't gonna go good for you.
Yeah.
I'm the middleweight champion of the world, of the UFC. I am the best middleweight fighter in the world. You're small, bro. If you come up and you start barking up this tree, you're gonna get slapped down, and I'm gonna show you why you're a welterweight. Sean didn't even go that deep. All he said was, I
Yep.
don't want to do this, but you know where to find me if you do.
Hmm.
And I mean, that says it all. And that's, I just feel like it's uncharacteristic of Sean, because he's usually like rah rah, like, hey, fuck, on spot, like, fuck it, I don't give a fuck, but, kind of attitude. So I
Yeah.
really think Sean really feels that he would kill this guy just because he's so much bigger and so much more talented, and he's giving him the benefit of the doubt. I almost feel there's sympathy there, like, hey, look, I know you're going through a lot right now. This is not the tree you want to start barking up right now. And because I will put you in your place quick, and I don't want to, but if you want to, I'll put you where you need to be.
There probably is some sympathy there. And look, as much as all this negativity is honestly probably good for him and for his brand and for his reach, just everybody's talking about him. So in a lot of ways, it's a huge positive, but him probably going through it right now, and like just getting so much hate. Imagine, I can't even imagine that being married. Everybody's telling you your wife is this and that, and that you should break up and get a divorce. And like, you're probably going through a really rough time, regardless of all the buzz. So I get it. And I think Sean probably sees that. And he's not trying to be a dick. He's just telling him how he's feeling. And yo, hey, hold the reins. What's going to be really, really, really interesting though is if Ian Garry goes in next week with all of this and just kind of like, I think he's going to embrace it. He's going to embrace the hate, and then he goes in and wins. Dude, that's which I do think he's going to win. That's going to be insane. And then he can use all this negative energy as a pot. It's going to be wild. What do you have any thoughts on that fight? Do you still feel Ian Garry's going to take it?
Man, I tell you what, dude, it's so hard, and MMA is such a mental game, and I go back to my personal stats, like,
Mhm.
10 years ago, I was 9-1 for the year on the year. My
Mhm.
sister passed away in a car accident. I felt that it didn't affect me. The very next year, I was like 3-7. So a lot of these underlying mental issues can really play effect, and you don't even know it's happening. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
subconscious really can eat at you. And maybe he takes this as fire, and he's, you know what? I'm focused. I'm going to smash everybody in the division, and nobody's going to be able to talk. He could take that approach, or he takes the other approach, which could be bad. So I just hope for Ian Garry. I think he's an awesome fighter, and he's really taken the Conor McGregor approach to the next level. I think he's incredible on the mic. I think he's an incredible fighter. I really hope that he can focus and stay laser focused for the task on hand, because if all this happens and he loses, I mean, he's just going to get more ridicule. And once you lose, and
Yeah.
it's tough to dig out of that hole, man. So I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for Ian Garry. I really want to see him do well. Not just because of this, just because he's such a great fighter, man. And
Mhm.
the UFC needs some new firepower. And I'd hate to see his career get ruined over some, personal drama. But
Mhm.
it'd be really awesome to see him persevere through all this and come out on top.
And he's entertaining. Jesse on Fire made an
Exactly.
amazing point earlier this week. He's like, look, I got no problem with Ian Garry. I love Ian Garry because he makes the sport exciting. And, it's people like him that are really fun to watch and really fun to see their rise. Even if you don't like him or even if he's annoying to you or something like that, dude, he is getting headlines. He's fascinating. Yeah, I agree. I want to see him do well. So dude, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for next week. We're going to do both our shows next week on that card because it is so exciting. All right, I want to move on to our last topic today, which is Tsarukyan versus Oliveira. We talked about Tsarukyan and his amazing victory last week. And by the way, I saw his interview with Ariel Helwani in full since Monday. Dude is so funny. Like, he's low key funny. Okay, so he talked. I gotta tell you, I haven't told you this. He talked about Bobby Green, right? And he goes, Ariel brought it up. He's like, yeah, I saw you had some smoke with Bobby Green. He's like, what do you think? Would you ever fight him? And he's like, yeah, but not in like UFC. Maybe in closed room where we have nobody there and we just fight until the death, and then one person dies and the other person emerges. Maybe we do it that way. And then he goes, And Ari was like, and he was like joking, but like very deadpan, right? And Ari was
Yeah.
like, "Whoa, okay, hold on, take it easy." And he goes, "What did you think about that stoppage?" He's like, "Yeah, I didn't have so much problem with it. I mean, I think it would have been probably better if the ref let him go for another 5 or 10 minutes. You know, let Jalen just keep hitting him for another 5-10 minutes until he was totally not moving." And he's like, so like, it was so funny. I was like, "Oh, dude, this guy's got a dark sense of humor, but he's really funny." Anyways, made me a huge fan of Tsarukyan. I hope more people watch that interview. But anyways, coming back to this matchup, we were talking about different matchups. Somebody threw out the idea of Tsarukyan versus Oliveira in one of the shows of the many that I watch. What do you think about this?
You know, just like we talked on our show on Monday, these are the fights that need to happen. All right.
Yes.
Tsarukyan comes in, puts on an incredible performance. Now he needs to step it up. I don't think that warrants him a title shot. But like I
Mhm.
said on Monday, he needs to fight a former champ or somebody that's been there and fought for the championship. You know, and Oliveira, you know, before Islam took him out, people were saying that, oh, could he be in contention for the
Mhm.
greatest lightweight of all time? I mean,
Mhm.
he's definitely up there. We're talking about a guy
Yeah,
that started off his UFC career with a losing record, and now he's
I
come
know.
back. He had an incredible stint. He's had incredible finishes. He's finished so many top level guys. If Tsarukyan can go in there and put on a show against Oliveira, I mean, what's next? Islam's next, and that's the
Yeah.
fight that everybody wants to see. Again, I don't think he's done enough to just warrant a title shot right now. You know, he beat a guy that's never been the champ. And I mean, he's been in contention for a long time, but
Mhm.
unfortunately just fell short a couple times. Oliveira's been there, and he's one of the best to ever do it. So I love this matchup. Like I said, you know, and whatever podcast you listen to, this was your and my idea first. So
Mhm.
let's give credit to that. This was our idea first.
That's true. Your
Strickland versus
idea.
Oliveira. Let's run this shit. Let's go.
Who do you think wins?
Don't know. I'll be honest. I didn't know anything about Tsarukyan until I saw him fight Beneil. You know, again, he's this up and coming guy that not everybody, including myself, knows a ton about. Oliveira, on the other hand, crisp striking. Now, how's Oliveira's chin though? You know, he's been dropped so many times, and I know some people say it's a ploy, like, oh, he gets dropped, and oh, he just wants you to get into his guard, and that's his game plan. It's like, listen,
Mm.
Justin, I'm blanking right now. 155 or Justin,
Gaethje.
yeah, Gaethje, yeah,
Mhm.
obviously, like drops him. He pulls guard. Like, you know, Gaethje hits like a Mack truck. You know, I don't think it was a ploy to get him to the ground. Like, I think he's susceptible, and I'm worried about his chin being susceptible.
Mhm.
And you know, Tsarukyan come in, he puts one on his chin, he might put him to sleep quick.
And Tsarukyan's not afraid to go to the ground with him, I don't think.
Yeah.
Tsarukyan's got a great grappling. So
Well,
that's the
you know,
thing.
you look at
Yeah.
like how Islam exposed Oliveira, man. Islam got on top. When I got on top, I was like, all right, we're gonna see. And then he submits him in like the first round. Like, what the hell? So, with that
Yeah.
being said, I mean, you know, Oliveira is an incredible fighter. I'm a huge Oliveira fan. I love his story. But Tsarukyan's the up and coming guy. You know, Oliveira. You know, there's just been a lot of things going wrong. You know, he got injured. You know, his last training camp, I believe. And
Yep.
Tsarukyan has all the momentum right now. He has all the eyes on him. I mean, I think Tsarukyan takes out Oliveira.
And he started his career in freestyle wrestling. He's got his base is wrestling. I kind of think so too. He's a young guy. What is he? 20? Oh, let me see. 27 or 26. Well, hold on. There's something weird covering this his birthday. Anyways, there it is. He is, yeah, what the heck? Hold on. Maybe later. Let me click that. Okay, there we go. Oh, it's so weird. There's something on. Okay, there was something covering the thing on the Wikipedia page. Anyways,
Sure.
he's 27. So young, man. That's so young.
Low
Imagine.
miles. He hasn't
Mhm.
taken damage to the head. His body isn't beat up. Oliveira's been around, man. Oliveira's been in the UFC since 2011, dude. Like, how long can his body hold up? How long can his mental edge hold up? I mean, he's a super tough guy. I'm a huge
Mhm.
Oliveira fan. I'd love to see him win. But I mean, these young guys that are up and coming, 25 years old, getting into the UFC. You know, like you have Rasul Rosa, but he's 18 years old. Like,
18.
it's going to be tough for us older guys. You know, I'm 34 to keep up with these guys. Our bodies are beaten up. You know, our
Mhm.
testosterone levels have plummeted from all the weight cuts and all that stuff. So, you know, when you take a guy that's in his early to mid 30s, putting him up against a 25-year-old guy, I mean, a lot of people will almost consider it unfair.
That's fair. Wow. Okay, well, we got so many exciting things happening. Like I said, next week we're going to be talking about this up and coming UFC 296 card. Man, Kobe versus Leon. Can't wait. And the whole main card is stacked. So we have a lot to talk about and a lot to analyze. Thank you guys so much for joining. And like I said, be on the lookout every Monday and Friday at 1:20 p.m. PST. We are on, and we're setting up some other clips. If you have ideas or things you want us to talk about, let us know. Leave a suggestion in the comments. And that's it for today. We will see you in the next episode. Take it easy.